Hello and welcome to a rather autumnal day here in not so sunny today Nova Scotia, but it would be autumnal because it's getting towards the late end of October. And yesterday we had what's known as a bomb cyclone. I've never even heard of a bomb cyclone before. What I do know is it was rather windy and rather rainy, and what was rather beautiful autumnal colours on all my trees have now turned into a rather messy lawn with just absolutely packed full of leaves all round the lawn, and quite a few hours of work to come for me raking it all up. But what is a rather boring job and a rather tiresome and long job is actually well worth it, because leaves make leaf mould, and leaf mould is gardener's gold. Leaf mould can be used in so many different situations around the garden. You can use it as a mulch on your vegetable and your perennial beds. When it rots down, you can use it, dig it into the soil to help provide more structure and give it more nutrients. And leaf mould is also excellent in pots because it has really good water retention properties. And obviously during the summer, when all your pots are in use for all your lovely colours and flowers, and often because of the heat they dry out quite quickly, and leaf mould provides that real good extra water retention and structure in your pots. So really good there. So what I thought I'd do today was give you the lowdown and the high down on how to make leaf mould, how to use leaf mould, what leaves are best for leaf mould, basically everything about leaf mould. So why don't you join me in the next few minutes and I'll give you that lowdown and that high down. So most leaves will break down over time to make good leaf mould, but some are better than others. Things like oak, beech, hornbeam, they'll break down pretty easily in less than a year and make really good leaf mould without shredding or cutting up at all. Things like maple, horse chestnut, walnut, sycamore, things like that with thicker leaves will take a bit longer, will take a couple of years to break down and make leaf mould if you don't shred them or mow them up. So I've got predominantly maple here, so I have to shred mine. Like I said, I'll show you later on. You can mow them up, and that will cut them all up nicely. But they'll still break down in a couple of years. Things like evergreens, hollies are better shredded and put on your compost heap rather than making leaf mould. So pine needles are worth collecting in a different pile because they'll break down to make an acidic leaf mould, which is good for ericaceous plants like rhododendrons, azaleas, camellias and blueberries, all like that acidic soil. So that's a very good resource kept separately for those sorts of plants. But like I said, your normal leaves will break down nicely, and all you've got to do, and it's a good idea to keep them separate, your compost pile, because they break down slightly differently, more from a fungal reaction rather than the way your compost does. And this is some leaf mould which is just about a year old, and it's not completely broken down, but this is a really good stuff for mulching your beds. As you can see, it's got nice, it's not completely broken down, but it'll provide good cover, and then as it breaks down around the soil, it'll incorporate itself into the soil and make really good extra structure for the soil. I've got here some leaf mould that was completely broken down, and I've sieved it, and look at that. That is absolutely beautiful, crumbly, soft, excellent, but it has really good water retention properties, so that'll be really good incorporating into pots. So like if you have some potting compost, a really good amount of this mixed in there will add that water retention and be really good for your plants and your soil throughout the year. And again, if you want to put this down in your beds, that's good. But I don't think you need to go to the actual sieving of the leaf mould to be able to put it on your beds. Just a good broken down after a year or so leaf mould, that'll be do just the trick. So how do we make leaf mould? Let's go and have a look, shall we? Okay, so you've decided to make some leaf mould. So how do you do it? Well, you need some leaves, obviously. And, you know, if you haven't got any leaves in your garden, I'd ask your neighbour, or just go around, literally go around wherever you can find some leaves, in the streets even, and get some leaves. I know that's a bit radical, and especially areas like where I live in Nova Scotia, there's more trees than you can shake a big stick at. But so get yourself some leaves. And then you need an area to actually put your pile, and literally all you need is a pile of leaves. Now, those of you who've seen my garden, obviously I've got a big enough garden to have a sort of a dedicated area to have all my piles of leaves. And as you can see, I've got a big massive chicken wire area, an area surrounded by chicken wire that I can pile all my leaves in the autumn. And then I've also got here behind me and on the side of me some sort of pallet boxes I've knocked up, and these have got my second year leaves in, and now they're going to rot down, and hopefully in the spring they're going to be ready. But that is literally all you need. But you don't need massive great big areas like this, like these pallet boxes and great big chicken wire areas. There's lots of different ways you can make yourself a pile of leaves. Like I said, you can just make a little pile of leaves and stick them in the corner and wait for a couple of years. But let's look at some of the other techniques we can use. So here I've just got some wire fencing, and it's a bit Heath Robinson this, but I've only knocked it up for demonstration purposes. And I've literally, all I've done is put it in a circle and tied some wire around it. But you could put some stakes around this, stick it in a nice little shady corner out the way of everything, and there you go, just fill it with leaves. Leave that for a couple of years, or if you've mowed up the leaves, literally just put the leaves down on the ground, mow them with a mower with a box on, and then put them in there. Within a year's time, fill this up, within a year's time you'll have really good leaf mould. So, and this doesn't cost hardly anything to make, really cheap, really easy. It took me 10 minutes to think about it and then knock it up. So stick this in a corner, job's a good one. So, you haven't got a big garden, you haven't got a big area to put your leaves in. What are you going to do? All you need is a black plastic bag. I've got this pile of leaves here, and I don't have a mower. I've just got one of them tractor mowers, and I tried doing the old running over them with the tractor mower, and you get bits everywhere, and it takes you about 3 hours to collect them all in again. So I just literally, the old pile, I just go in with a strimmer, and I've strimmed these earlier. So literally a black plastic bag, fill it up. Now you don't want to fill it up too much. You don't, in any case, whether you're using a bin, whatever pile you do, you don't want to press down the leaves too much, because then they take a lot more longer to actually break down. So fill it up, but fill it loosely. Also, you want to make sure in all your different instances that your leaves are nice and at least damp when they first when you first pile them up. That's why it's always good to collect your leaves just after it's been raining, etc. But if they're not, just get a watering can or a hose and just give the pile a good old hosing down first. Let's finish filling this up. So we'll say that's full up. Just tie it loosely, and then just put a few air holes around. Stick it somewhere private, behind a shed, somewhere out of sight for a couple of years. and you'll come back and you'll have that beautiful, crumbly, excellent leaf mould. So, we've spoken about the different types of leaves and how things like oak and birch and hornbeam, lighter leaves like that, thinner leaves will break down quite quickly within a year. Things like maple, that's the majority of my garden, your horse chestnuts, etc. They will take a bit longer, but if you mow them or give them a good strimming, cut them up, they will break down really well within a year or so. And that sounds a long time, 2 years, to spend on breaking down some, you know, putting stuff away in an area. But once you get over that first hurdle, really, every year from then on, you'll be getting leaf mould, because you'll be collecting it that autumn, and then the years befores will have becoming ripe, for want of a better phrase. And it's just excellent stuff. So I've spoken how to make it. Literally, all you need is a pile of leaves. Chop it up nice and small if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Find yourself you can either just use a pile or make yourself a bin, whether it be out of chicken wire or even a black plastic bag. All good receptacles and all will do the job. And you will be surprised at how absolutely fantastic leaf mould is. You know, as a mulch, it keeps the soil underneath nice and moist all the time, prevents weeds coming up, and when you sieve it out on good, well rotted leaf mould, you get that excellent, crumbly, beautiful, water retentive soil that you can put in your pots, and it will make them perform much better throughout the summer. And then you can dig it into your soil, whether it's sieved or not, dig it in there and it will break down even more and add that structure to your soil and just be a real winner in the garden. Like I said, it's gardener's gold. Job's a good one.